Welcome to the Unofficial Steelers Podcast, the podcast so unofficial it doesn't have a home. Here's your host from In Heights Sites, Nathan Heights. And from State of the Steelers, Daniel J. Here we go.
What is up, Steeler fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Steelers. Wait, wrong. Man, I talk too much Steelers sometimes. No, I'm just kidding. Not enough. There's never enough Steelers talk. Welcome to the Unofficial Steelers Podcast. I'm Daniel, alongside with me, Nathan Heights. Nathan, how you doing? It's been a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's been a couple weeks. Sometimes things get a little busy, schedules get in the way. But we're not doing too bad, man. We're looking forward to this upcoming weekend. There's definitely some things worthwhile to discuss here tonight. So not too bad, bro.
Not bad at all. You know, the Steelers are 4-2. They're still in first place. They're coming off of two performances against the AFC North, one win and one loss. The win coming against the Cleveland Browns, at home, the loss on the road on a short week on Thursday Night Football against the Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Flacco, who torched up the Pittsburgh Steelers defense and secondary. I was pretty disappointed in the defensive performance of the last game. I wasn't expecting that. I thought that although the Steelers were playing maybe not the best quarterback in Dylan Gabriel, I thought they had taken a step forward. It felt like they took a couple of steps backwards against Flacco and Jamar Chase. I know it's been a few days. How are you feeling about the loss still?
How I feel now, I'm over it. It was kind of stinging there for a couple days, just because the disappointing effort from the defense. The offense was doing really well, and it is just kind of a breath of fresh air to have an offense that I think that you can not count out. If they're in situations where they need a drive or something. I feel like we haven't really have felt that way toward our offense in quite a long time. And I think that with that being said, with their performance, and it's disappointing that the defense. The defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. It was embarrassing. It was pathetic. The Bengals had 100 rushes off of 10 carries right off the bat. They're the worst rushing team in the league. So when you have a front seven that you're so heavily invested in, and you can't do that. The Bengals ran slant routes all night. The Steelers had no answer for that. I can stop that in Madden. I don't understand. It's embarrassing. Jalen Ramsey was cooked the whole night. He could not do anything with T. Higgins. Jamar Chase, he was cooked the whole night. I feel like they probably played a lot of zone because they were starting to get flagged on couple of the corners. Darius Slay was awful. I mean, there wasn't one redeeming quality. They didn't rush. They didn't blitz Flacco much. They didn't get to him. Like that, there was nothing that they were able to do. They had one stop. I think it was in the start of the fourth quarter. I think it was one stop on a third down that they had, and that was it. And I think when the Steelers scored at the end of the fourth, I think we all knew, you know what, they're probably going to still lose this game.
Yeah, I was talking with Shannon White from Steel Curtain Network on my show with him on the called Steelers Hangover, and I told him, I was like, man, it was the least celebrated touchdown I've had all season. Yeah. And it was I knew that the defense was a little bit, being a little bit they were getting torched. I mean, that's the nicest way I could say it. They weren't stopping anything. And I was like, man, this isn't good. I know I was like trying to pump myself up for them. Like, you know what? They've sucked all game. This is the moment where they can redeem themselves. They can get a turnover. They can get a stop. They can do something of that nature. And instead, they allowed them to, they allowed the Cincinnati Bengals to end the game. And, it was unfortunate. The team ends up losing. Dave Schofield from Steel Curtain Network had put out a tweet that's been circulating everywhere from, I believe it was the Steelers Nation Radio host, and also I think Cam Hayward was asked about this earlier. The AFC North on the road all of the AFC North teams have a similar record on the road on Thursday night. It's 1-5, 1-6, 2-9, 1-9, things of that nature for all the teams. It's just to me, it's become a product that just sucks. Thursday night, it's not what you expect. It's always favored for the home team, and I'm looking forward to them having a bye week before the Thursday night game. Now I know that that's probably not going to happen until they have 8 games, and so you add another game, but you'll probably get another bye week. And I think some folks are, that I've heard talking about this situation have indicated that second bye week could happen right before a Thursday night game.
Yeah.
What are your feelings on that? Like, what are your thoughts on Thursday night games in general, and what approach would you like?
Well, from just a consumer and fan, I the more football, the merrier. But when we look at Thursday night football, I feel like more years than not, it's just not good. It's not a good product on Thursday night all around. Now, it's not to say a game can't be interesting, a game can't be close, or anything like that, but it's just the product. It's kind of a quick bounce into the next game following what they just came off of on Sunday. So personally, I honestly like Fridays better. I actually like when they start the season now, the season opener is a Thursday. The last 2 years, they've had a game on Friday, the following day. Like they did the last 2 years. Last year was, I think, in Brazil, and this year was somewhere else. I actually like that formula of starting the season. Okay, you start your season on Thursday. You have a game Friday. But I actually like NFL games on Friday better, to be honest. That's just me. I think there's an extra day there. If a team's coming off Sunday, there's an extra day rather than Thursday. And they're still going to get an extra day of rest if they play on Friday going into the following week. So, and they're doing a Black Friday game again this year. So they do games on Fridays. But at the end of the day, these are professionals. These are professional teams. Whatever day their games are on, it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter because both those same teams, the Bengals and Steelers, are dealing with the same thing. Now, some might be a little bit travel, whatever the case is. But with the Steelers, both teams had a short week. And the way the Steelers defense is built, that's what's supposed to lead the team as it has the last several years. There's no excuse. There's no excuse to that performance. We've heard, I think, at least 2 times already this season of lack of preparation from players. Is that not a concern? I feel like we hear that every season. Now, it's not to say that other teams don't have that happen. We're just kind of more so our ears are toward what's coming out of the Steelers side rather than all the other 31 NFL teams. So all other 31 NFL teams have the same crap. It's just different.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think the Friday night thing might have to do with, especially early on in the season, maybe clashing with like high school football and stuff. A big portion, I think, of NFL fans are those kids that are growing up playing football on Friday nights, and they kind of want to keep them involved.
Yeah, no, they'll never get rid of Thursday night football. I just like the Friday format.
Yeah, I mean, I at one point, probably not in the near too distant future, there'll probably be football on almost every day of the week during the football season. I wouldn't be surprised. It's too much of a moneymaker for the league.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Especially when you have a situation where you can now utilize different programs like, Amazon, Netflix, Peacock, these other things that are streaming services that you have to pay per view. It's eventually going to turn into that for the most part. It is what it is. The Steelers lost. It was a game that I think a lot of people thought and chalked up before the season started that the Steelers were going to probably lose that game. I think a lot of people ended up having a lot of bit of hope when it's Joe Flacco. It's Joe Burrow's out, Browning, Flacco, everybody's like, all right, this is a team that the Steelers should beat. They didn't have a running game, and then all of a sudden they did. They had a guy that was a quarterback there for 10 days. I think he even said after the game that he didn't know the plays. He was just throwing to the good receivers.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why they ran basic concepts. Steelers couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah. Yeah. But it is what it is. The Steelers lost, time to move forward. Now looking ahead, before we get into the game per se, there's an injury report that I wanted to talk to you about. Zach Frazier found himself on the injury report with a calf injury. I think this is, he was a limitation. I think this is this is bigger than this could be something. I don't know why he was limited. Did he get hurt during practice, and then that's why he was limited because he left in the middle of it? That doesn't tell us a lot. Was he hurt already beforehand? Interesting stuff. But Zach Frazier, the center for the Pittsburgh Steelers, the anchor point, can't lose him. How concerned are you about this injury report?
Well, today's Wednesday. It came up today. So if he's not practicing tomorrow, that'll be a little concerning.
Yeah.
Or if he's not, if he's limited again. So so with McCollum out, who's technically would take that spot?
I have no idea. I know that they worked out Herbig, but I don't think they signed him.
No. Would they put Spencer Anderson there?
You know what? He did play a center, I believe, in college. So yeah, he's probably your backup center. Yeah.
I feel like that's what they would do unless we're missing somebody.
Yeah. Be interesting to see what happens
that's like the only one, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he's the only one that's
they should be pretty full strength.
Yeah, even Calvin Austin's back.
Yeah.
A couple of other guys have participated or played. Will Howard's back. What do you think about that? Will Howard, they got his practice going. To me, I think this means more to me like, all right, they're going to see what they have in him. I don't think the Steelers, there's a good chance the Steelers aren't impressed with this upcoming quarterback class. I'm not. They put a lot of cards into that deck, which has sparked a little bit of debate. Do you think the Steelers missed on Jackson Dart?
You could say that now. That's something we can revisit in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. They had an opportunity.
They did. And this is the thing that I always find funny with fans is I remember going into this draft because there was a point Jackson Dart was getting mocked to the Steelers.
Mm-hmm.
And I love just seeing fans that think that they're a scout and they know absolutely everything about a prospect when they haven't even watched a game of his. And I remember a lot of Steeler fans saying, oh, Dart's bad. It's such a reach. And now I'm sure these same fans are probably like, you know what? I think I would have been okay if they would have taken him. This is the thing, is that anybody you draft, you're never going to fully know how they turn out. You can go off what they did in college, but does that really mean a whole lot when it comes to the NFL? It's a whole different game.
Yeah.
So there's so many high-end first-round quarterbacks that fail. I feel like there's more first-round quarterbacks that flop than that don't. So when it comes to this quarterback class, I don't really care if it's viewed as not that good or good. If the Steelers take a quarterback still in the first round, I'm going to be glad about it because they've put this off, now not counting Kenny Pickett, they've put this off for about 6-7 years. And most quarterbacks that you're taking in the first round, unless that they're ready to play right away, most of them probably need a year at least because it's different. So even if they take a quarterback in the first round, and it's kind of up and down right now with prospects moving up and moving down. If Rodgers comes back, hey, have him sit a year. Ain't going to hurt anything. It comes to a point you got to develop somebody. This quarterback's not going to come in here and just be ready to roll.
Right.
It comes to a point they got to develop somebody. And you can look at that across the league. Look at CJ Stroud. He had a great rookie year, and he's been trashed for the last 2 seasons.
Where would you put Will Howard in this year's upcoming draft? Where would he be drafted? He was a 6th round in last year's draft. Do you think he's still about that same with the quarterbacks that they have coming out?
Yeah, he wouldn't be a top 3 round pick. No. 6th round picks are 99% of the time what they are. So
Yeah.
I don't put too much stock in Will Howard. Not that I'm not rooting for him. That'd be great if something happened out of that, just like a Brock Purdy type situation. But you can't put stock into that. Like there's some intriguing guys, but they're gonna need some time. Like you got to develop guys, man. You know.
No, I don't say that you don't have to develop them. I'm just kind of concerned with the talent that's there. You know,
Well, yeah. People
there
were
might be
thinking Dart
one.
wasn't a first round pick, and now I think Giants fans are probably pretty excited.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean,
Well, for now. I mean, there
yeah.
was a time where Tennessee Titan fans were proud of Willis or whatever his name is.
Yeah,
What is
Will
his name?
Levis.
Will Levis. There you go.
Yeah.
There was a
Yeah,
moment
that's what I
when
mean.
he had
Those
his
are
moment too.
conversations you usually revisit in 2 or 3 years. Like when CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, their rookie year, like CJ Stroud was miles ahead of him. But if you look at their numbers right now, Bryce Young actually has better numbers over 2.5 seasons.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yep. So
that's crazy.
yep. So that's the thing with quarterbacks, that they're hard to find, but they need to be developed. Do the Steelers have the staff to develop one? I don't have a lot of faith in them to do that.
Neither do I.
I don't. No, I don't. This is why they're playing quarterback roulette. Guy that's already been here, it's played in the league, that's somewhat established. I mean, there's at least 2 or 3 quarterbacks that they had an opportunity to take over the last 5-6 years. They didn't do it.
That's fair.
So they keep pushing it up, or they keep pushing it off.
You know, the way Rodgers is playing, a lot of people have been saying that he's going to come back next year. I wouldn't be against it. You know, if the offensive line can hold up and give the guys some time, you know, even if obviously that's what you want, but even if they have a situation where the opposite team has got the number of the offensive line, Aaron Rodgers has a quick release. He can get the ball out fast enough so he's not going to get.
Yeah, I think he leads the league in how quick he's gotten rid of the ball.
Yeah,
but he's always been like that, though. He's always been pretty quick to get rid of the football.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm not opposed for him coming back at age 42, given what we've seen already. You know, the reason the Steelers lost, although he had 2 interceptions, I think one of them really wasn't on him. The other one was. One of them was just a guy making an incredible play, taking the ball away from DK Metcalf.
It's not on him. Yeah.
The other one, you can argue and you can say, hey, those 2 turnovers were the deciding factor of the game. And I don't think anybody can argue with that. But I think you can also look at it from the point of view where he was able to bring back, you know, the team and put them ahead and do so with 2 minutes left in the game and put the defense, the so-called, you know, the golden child of the team, you know, the defensive side, they pay him for this reason. And unfortunately they weren't able to do anything. And so I don't think you can put the loss on him. So I wouldn't be opposed to him coming back next year based on what we've seen. Where are you on Rodgers coming back 2026?
I'm all for it, long as he's healthy and his mind's there. You know, he'll probably take some time again, as he did as he's done the last 3-4 years.
Yeah.
He's never fully committed to saying he's retired. He said it's probably most likely his last year, but we'll see. Kind of see how the season goes, see how he feels. It seems like he's having a great time, which is something he hasn't had for at least the last 2 years, where he was with the Jets. Yeah. So he's on pace to throw 40 touchdowns.
I saw that. That would have been more than Ben Roethlisberger in his entire career.
Yeah, this is the best quarterback play the Steelers have had since 2018.
I agree.
It is. Aaron Rodgers carried the whole team Thursday night. He did everything he could to win that football game. Jaylen Warren had a great game. Offensive line was pretty solid, though Trey Hendrickson didn't play, but the Bengals defense sucks anyway. But Aaron, like, he's just, it's night and day with him compared to these last 5-6 starting quarterbacks the Steelers have had since the end of Ben's career. And just because he's 41, this is why I always say I really don't care about age. If guys are playing at a high level, and even if they're older, I don't care. As long as they're playing at a high level, they're staying healthy, they're helping them win football games, I don't care how old you are.
Right.
You know, Tom Brady was 45 when he retired. You know, if Aaron can go another year, why not?
Mm-hmm.
Why not, honestly? So I've been very pleased with him. I think that he's brought in a lot of leadership and knowledge to to this offense. Him and Arthur Smith seem they work really well together. Offensive line, I think, has taken strides the last 3-4 weeks, which has been good. The Steelers have ran the football fairly well the last 3 weeks, so that's a positive. They need to go get a playmaking wide receiver. They need to make that move. And the trade deadline, I think, is in 2 weeks. So they need to do that. I know that their name's been tossed around. There's some
I think it's on
receivers
Tuesday.
around there. Is it next Tuesday?
Is
After
it
this
next
week?
Tuesday? I thought it was
Is
Tuesday.
it November 2nd?
Oh, it could be November 2nd. I think you're right.
Well, no.
They moved it back a week. I think you're right.
Yeah. So they need to do that. I'm confident they will. It's just gonna be a matter who, but it cannot be a Mike Williams-esque type guy. It needs to be somebody that's going to make plays, that's going to get consistent snaps, that's going to be a wide receiver too. It's not Calvin Austin, I'm sorry. And I'll always stand by that. Calvin Austin is not a wide receiver too. He has a role. He can do some good things, but he's not a wide receiver too. They need to go get somebody. Man, wouldn't it be great if they got George Pickens? Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yeah, well, maybe. I don't think George Pickens and Aaron Rodgers could coexist.
No, they might not. Sometimes it's addition by subtraction. I mean, I'm very happy with DK, but with what George Pickens is doing, he's having the best season that he's had in his career, in his young career so far. And it would be nice to have somebody like that next to Metcalf. Obviously, the question is, would it have worked? I was actually excited to see it just for the entertainment purposes. But aside from that, they need to go get somebody, and there's a list of guys out there, but it needs to be somebody that's going to make a difference when they come in, not 5 offensive snaps a game like Mike Williams got. We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
You see, with George Pickens and Aaron Rodgers, the problem is that I don't think Dak is getting in George Pickens' face for anything. And I think Aaron would.
We've already seen Aaron do that, but Aaron's always been like that. But I'd rather have that than somebody that's just going to freaking free ball everything.
Right. No, I agree. And that's I think that's what
Half
the
the
main
reason why the
difference
Cowboys are perceived the way they are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think that's the main difference as to why they're dealing with it, because, at the end of the day, we've all seen it with them too, that they were complaining about him not being all in on plays that, didn't involve him. And then he threw his helmet on the ground. CD Lamb goes down and he ends up being wide receiver 1 for a little bit. And his spirits are high and this, that, and the third. CD Lamb's back. We'll see how his behavior
CD Lamb had a
is.
better game.
Yeah.
He ended up doing more, but yeah, they need to really get a wide receiver too.
Mm-hmm.
I think anybody can almost agree with that. We'll see what pieces have to be moved. I would even be okay if they got somebody in the secondary.
Now, with the lack of quarterback play in college ranks right now, would you feel more comfortable, dealing for a receiver? I think maybe early on in the season, that was maybe perhaps not the route they wanted to go, because they may wanted to put, a lot of the cards in the middle of the table for for a quarterback there in the first round, and maybe perhaps planning to move up quite a bit. Mm-hmm. They may not have to do that anymore.
They might not have to. That's a good point and a good question you make. Yeah, they might not have to. I really could see 3, maybe 4 go in the first round if they finish their season strong. There's a couple guys that were highly projected, like top 5 picks going into this college season, and they might not even go in the first round. Cade Klubnik in Clemson and Garrett Nussmeier of LSU. They might not go in the first round. Well, Cade Klubnik definitely isn't. Garrett Nussmeier, he can maybe be somebody that falls at the end. But you're looking at Lenore Sellers, who he's going to need time. Ty Simpson of Alabama has been moving up the ranks. Dante Moore of Oregon is interesting. The Steelers have scouted John Mateer a couple times of Oklahoma. And you have Fernando Mendoza, who I think will be the first quarterback taken in the top 5 from Indiana. Mm-hmm. So that's at least 4 guys that could possibly go in the first round. And if the Steelers are going to draft somewhere in the 20s, like usual, they could end up getting somebody, or maybe only they have to move up a few spots.
Right.
And Boxing Man. Yeah, what's up, man? Thanks for coming in. Yeah, and the Steelers do still have a lot of picks. So they might be a little bit more flexible with the draft picks if they feel like, okay, this quarterback class is kind of just a pond, depending who they like. And they're like, hey, if this guy, these couple guys, they'll probably be there toward the end of the first we could look at. So, but who knows? The college season, there's still ways to go. But
The
yeah, that's a
senior
great
game will
point.
make a big difference too.
Yeah, but that's a great point you make, though. Like maybe at this point in time, they might be a little flexible. Yeah, Dante Moore is cool. Dante Moore is interesting. Yeah, for sure, for sure. And that's what I mean. Like they like okay. So here's a question. Let's say Rodgers retires. Say the Steelers draft a quarterback early, first round, whatever. What are they going to do? Is this quarterback going to start right away, or are they going to go the veteran quarterback route again?
Nah, I think they start him. And the
I mean,
reason why is
it's what I
because
mean, dude. It's getting old. It's
right. No,
getting
I get
old,
it,
dude.
but I think this is why. So if you go back to Kenny Pickett, they put him in week 4, and they turned away from Mitch Trubisky, which was something I was kind of surprised about. That especially that move middle of the game, things like that. Beforehand, the Steelers wanted their first round picks to earn it. And I think that kind of hurt the development last year. And this year we saw Derek Harmon be promoted to the first string defensive end immediately. And so I think they've learned very slowly, but I think they've learned a little bit from, their past where they're like, hey, if we're going to be competing and we're going to, make it and those type of things, we need to actually start to accelerate the process with some of these guys and put them in a lot sooner and get them prepared. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they end up drafting a quarterback in the first round and Aaron Rodgers is not on the team, then that's your starting quarterback.
I agree. And I just think that enough's enough of quarterback roulette of bringing in veteran after veteran after veteran. You're not going to bring in somebody better than Aaron next year. From a veteran standpoint, you're not going to. And we know how the Steelers operate. The Steelers are going to continue to try to keep themselves relevant and keep themselves consistent while they're trying to move in a, more youth type of new era, if that's what we want to call it. That's what they're going to do. They're going to keep their defensive guys and everything like that. They'll hit their free agency, which they've been active the last couple years, which I'm happy about. But that's what they're going to do. How many picks will they have? So that's a good point with the comp picks. They're on pace to not get any with what's going on. So if they don't, they'll have 8. And that's still not bad.
Yeah.
And they can always make moves in the offseason and move off some guys and acquire a couple more draft picks if they want to do that. That's always an option. Right. But as of now, it's at 8 if they don't get those comp picks. If they do, it would be 12.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I don't look like they're going to get any. Although Russell Wilson did you see Russell Wilson's uncanny move?
Yeah,
him calling out.
Good for him though, man. Sean Payton's a freaking douchebag. I don't care what anybody says. He's a freaking.
He is, dude.
I've never really cared for him.
Yeah, me either.
Especially even the bounty stuff. Like, listen, I'm not somebody that pins things on people. Especially, everybody's got crap. But when you're still paying a player a certain amount of money to take somebody out, I mean, dude, what are we doing? And that's something that will stick with him his whole career, just like Bill Belichick and all that stuff. That's just stuff that's going to stick with you. It's not that Sean Payton hasn't moved on from it or, can't be, things can't be redeemed from that. But like, still Sean Payton didn't like Russell Wilson. They didn't get along, but Russell Wilson's a classy guy. He's not out here saying things about Sean Payton or anything like that. Like it's an unnecessary comment.
Yeah.
It's an unnecessary comment. So Russell Wilson, it was time for him to kind of stick up for himself because he's somebody that likes to take the high road, be Mr. Positive and everything. But like, you need sometimes the record needs to be straight a little bit.
100%.
Russell Wilson's a Hall of Fame quarterback. He is. He might not get in right away, but he's a Hall of Fame quarterback. You can't take away what he did the first 10 years in Seattle.
I agree.
He was a top 5 quarterback. It's just with him, he just didn't really transition well into his mid-30s like a lot of other quarterbacks do. Ben was still playing well in his mid-30s. Drew Brees was. Brady was there. Peyton was there.
Well, with
even
Russell,
Matt Stafford.
But those guys can agree, they can adjust their game. Russell Wilson couldn't grow. He had his height challenges, and then he also had the fact that he had to be elusive and move around to be effective. Right. And if you can't adjust, like Ben Roethlisberger had to do that. And then at the end of his career, he became a guy that was able to get the ball out of his hands fairly quickly. And so Russell Wilson didn't have that transition. Right. He still plays like it's, 2012, and he can run around.
Yeah.
And that's not the case anymore. And so,
No, it's not. No, it's not.
But good for Russ.
Yeah.
Transitioning to the Steelers and Packers. Aaron Rodgers says this is not a revenge game. Said that if it was in Lambeau, maybe perhaps there'd be a lot more feelings. I don't buy it. When he's saying it, he looks like he's glowing.
Well, he's not going to come out and try to ruffle any feathers or anything.
Right.
But even though it's out here, it's definitely going to be an emotional game for him.
Yeah.
And that's why I think Raj is gonna play really well. The thing is the defense going to gaslight us all. But this is what they do, dude. This is what the Steelers do. They have these games like they had Thursday night where the defense blows the gasket, and they come back against some of these more upper echelon type teams, and the defense locks them down. This is what they do. Now with Green Bay, Josh Jacobs was injured going into the game last week. He didn't play a lot of snaps last week.
Right.
He's probably going to still play. But Jordan Love, their offense has been a little shaky the last couple weeks, and that was against the Cardinals. And who the hell they played for the Cardinals that they struggled with? There's another team before the Cardinals they kind of struggle with a little bit. I'd have to look at who it was. I can't remember. But Green Bay's offense, it's not like it's this dynamic type offense or anything. I mean, they can move the football. Jordan Love's not bad. Josh Jacobs is still one of the best backs in the league. So that's going to be a huge test for this defense is Josh Jacobs. You had Chase Brown and you had whoever the hell else their running back is, whoever the P. Ryan, whoever the heck it is.
Yeah.
The defense was awful on the run. So this is a big test. This is probably going to be the best running back you have faced so far this season. And you have Jordan Love, who can make big throws. They have Tucker Kraft, who's one of the better tight ends in the NFL right now. Mm-hmm. We know the Steelers have been very suspect with tight ends over the years. That's going to be a huge thing. And it's National Tight End Day on Sunday. So, tight ends like to score on that day. So this is a big test for the defense. But we've seen where the defense has bounced back from poor outings against lesser type teams and end up gaslighting us. And I wouldn't be surprised if that happened.
For me, one of the big things that
they do have a lot of talent. Yes.
One of the big things when it comes to Tomlin and we looked at Thursday night and called that a Tomlin game. There's other Tomlin games that are in the opposite direction in the positive manner. When he has a bye or when he has a short mini bye, Tomlin teams usually come out and show up. And when they're going up against teams that are adequately, depending on who they are, if it's the Bills and somebody here recently, not so much here recently, when they've gone up against some of the top tier talent, they've gotten blown out. But, when they've gone up against good talent and I'm not, the Packers have kind of struggled here recently. And so I'm not putting the Packers up there with the high performance teams like, for instance, Buffalo or even Kansas City as of recent. I think they're good. I think they can hold their own, but I think they're beatable. And I think that when you look at these type of teams that the Steelers have gone up against in the past that are evenly matched, the Steelers have played well. One of the things that has really worried me about the beginning portion of this season, and I've said it a couple of times, was the fact that one of the other things that Tomlin isn't very good at, in my opinion, is like facing a quarterback that's new, that isn't a rookie. And so, rookie quarterbacks he's been able to take advantage of if they're starting in their first couple of games. But, when there's been a situation like when Anthony Richardson gone down and Joe Flacco comes in, or other situations where backup quarterbacks either started that week or entered the game during the middle of the game, they end up looking like starters, like they should be starting all pro quarterbacks. And this entire year has almost been that outside of Drake May. He was the only quarterback that the Steelers have faced who wasn't starting their first couple of games as that team's quarterback. And so this is going to be the first time that we get to see Mike Tomlin play up against a team that he was able to really dissect and figure out what they're doing this year. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited to see how he rises to that challenge, because I think that we're probably going to see a more prepared defense for what's going on. I think a lot of what's been going on is that the Steelers have been caught off guard, and I think a lot of the newness to the teams that they're playing has had that effect. I mean, they allowed the guy like Justin Fields to put up I don't know how many yards. Sam
God,
Darnold.
looking at that right now, dude. Oh my God, that's embarrassing.
Exactly.
I mean, the guy, yeah, and I actually wanted to ask you about that, but keep going.
Yeah, so they allowed Sam Darnold, Carson Wentz put up a number of yards. Joe Flacco, we all saw what he did. Even Drake May, and he wasn't, that's the one outlier that he was, their quarterback for the entire year last year. But he's a second-year quarterback. You're expected to see a growth, and I'd expect that his probably playbook has expanded significantly since it was last year.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's probably a lot of new wrinkles there. But I'm excited to see what they're able to do against this team and if they can hold up, because if they go in there and they can't do anything against the Green Bay Packers and they allow them to throw the ball all over them or run all over them, then, as much as the weakest excuse there is that that Tomlin didn't have the material to prepare, there definitely wouldn't be any at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, kind of touching on that, this next stretch of games is really going to determine this Steelers team, because your next 3 games, I mean, the Chargers are definitely beatable, but Justin Herbert's been good this season. The Chargers started off really hot, but they've really settled down. Their defense they've been slacking a lot. They have a lot of injuries on their offensive line. So to be fair, there's things the Chargers are missing there. But still, so let's at least say these next 2 games, Green Bay and Indianapolis. These next 2 games are going to show where this team is right now. Indianapolis is for real. I don't care what anybody says. They're for real. Yeah. They can put up points. They can run the football. Daniel Jones does not turn the ball over. They're playing smart offensively. And defensively, I mean, they're an opportunistic team. When we look at Green Bay, we touched on those type of things. But when we look at the Steelers defense, before the Bengals game, they had 17 sacks in 3 games. They were doing a good job at stopping the run. With the first 2 games, they were getting clamped. So there was some encouragement there. But when we saw what happened Thursday night, it really brought us back down to, I think, where we were the first 2 games of the season with the defense. And that might be what we get throughout this year. We might get those highs and those lows rather than the consistency that we want to see and that the defense should provide, given what they're getting paid, given the talent. But these next 2 games are going to be very telling where this defense is at. The offense, honestly, I don't really have much concern over the offense. I just want to see another playmaker there to help out Raj. That's it. Yeah. I just want to see that. So I think after the you keep waiting for the Colts to turn into trash. I know. You know what? It's just because the Colts have not been at this point, and we've seen what Daniel Jones has been. But you know what? Some guys, coaching matters, organizations matter, and the Giants have been a dumpster fire. Yeah. So those things go hand in hand. But what was I saying? The Steelers need another playmaker really bad. But with this game, these next 2 games are going to be telling. That they really are. And I really thought last Thursday's game was a big game with the schedule coming up and why I thought they had to win that game. Now, obviously, your division kind of sucks, so that kind of helps. But they can. It's not that they can't beat both these teams, but it's what we're seeing from the defensive side of the ball, which has been the heart and soul of this team for the last at least 6-7 seasons, was very deflating. And when you look at some of the offense that's coming up and some of the weapons, it's discouraging and it makes you want to doubt. But we're just going to have to really see these next 2 weeks where this defense is and where this team's at.
I agree.
What do you think about the Justin Fields situation? And with what Woody Johnson said, Fields getting benched, but Tyrod Taylor's hurt. So Fields might have to end up playing.
Well, I mean, if you're Fields, you lost all confidence in your team.
Oh, yeah.
You've lost all confidence in yourself probably at this point. You're probably thinking you made a mistake and not selecting the Pittsburgh Steelers, which he would be right. And I'm not too certain that extension of was out there as much as people thought there was. A lot of people were saying that the Steelers were really high on him. They wanted him back. And I kept saying if that was the case, they could have gotten him at any point. So I was kind of suspicious on those claims. I didn't think that was going to be the case. But if he did have an opportunity, even if it was for less money, given what he was able to do with the Steelers last year, with his opportunity, I think he definitely made a mistake. I mean, he should have seen it coming to a certain extent. You're going to an organization that is troubled. I mean, they don't care. They brought in Rodgers from across the dang country just to fire him. And, it was odd to see him, be public about the statements like that. But I mean, if I was Fields, I'd request to be cut, released, or traded.
Yeah. I think at this point, when you have the owner making comments like that and you're being benched and everything. But again, what does that say about what the Steelers let Fields do to them?
Yeah. Well,
other than that game, dude, Fields hasn't, other than 2 games out of 7 games for them this year. So five games. Fields wasn't good.
Well, it's kind of like with Flacco, right? Like I said that Tomlin hasn't changed anything, and both those guys know Tomlin fairly well. Fields played against his defense all last year. In fact, he was playing against the number 1 defense for majority of the time because he was the backup quarterback. So he was the scout team guy. He was playing against them. Mm-hmm. And so, he knew what it is that they like to do, what their coverage is, and what their checks were. And the Steelers don't change. So, when you know the answers to the test and you're as athletic and have the ability that he does, I mean, you're just putting yourself in a bad situation. Right. Just, it just makes the Steelers look even worse given how horrible he's played. But I guarantee you, Joe Flacco is not going to continue to have the games he's had.
Yeah.
And eventually everybody's going to look at
settle down. It's going to settle in. I mean, they were just running basic concepts. Once they kind of start facing some of these other defenses that are in a better position than the Steelers are right now, things are going to get a little shaky. They play the Jets this week. They're probably going to beat the Jets. But when you look after that, the Bengals have some opponents coming up. They play us again. They have to play the Ravens still. And I know that they have a couple other stronger opponents too on their board. I don't think the Bengal fans can be glad that Flacco's here and everything like that, but you got to face reality at the end of the day. Your defense is awful. You finally had one good game where you could actually do something offensively, which sucks as a Steeler fan, but the Bengals are going to start to fall ship a little bit after a week or 2.
I agree. I don't think this is going to be sustainable for them. I don't think that their experiment with Joe Flacco is going to be sustainable. And I'll be there for it. That's the game that I'm going to this year.
Yeah, you're going to that game.
I'll be there.
Isn't that a night game?
No, it's at noon.
Oh, it's a 1:00 game out here?
Yeah, 1:00.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Mike Tomlin has overstayed his welcome. I mean, things are old, boxing, man. Things are old around here, man.
Yeah.
And I'm not even like somebody where I'm like a Mike Tomlin hater at this point. Like it's just the same song and dance is just the way I like to put it. I appreciate how he does. Like, you have to be honest, he does more with less. I think when you look at some of the situations with the quarterback and everything here,
but he put himself there.
It's
impressive.
He's the reason
why
he did. I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm starting from a positive standpoint here because there's context you can go into it 100%.
Yeah.
But when we look at quarterback situations over the years, look at the Ravens right now. They're 1-5 without Lamar Jackson. Mike Tomlin hasn't had a good quarterback for 6 or 7 years. And again, there's context that can go into that. But when we're just looking at it on paper, you got to give some credit there and still being able to keep the team in the playoff hunt. And the Ravens have a lot of talent on the team. When on paper, they probably have the most talent in the division. But when we look at Mike Tomlin, everybody's frustrated with the playoffs things. Everybody lack of change, right? Stubbornness. We know that, that's another thing I mentioned too, Blue, when I was saying that the Steelers have had opportunities for at least 3, maybe 4 guys over the last 6-7 years or so that they could have got, but they continue to put it to the side. That's one of them. So with that being said, I would say probably the last 5 years at least, a lot of Steelers fans are ready just to get some new blood, get something new around. And being honest, yeah, a lot of things don't change with Tomlin. He's stubborn. He's in his own way. The coaching tree is another thing. A lot of the coaching hires have been failures, and that's frustrating as well. I've never been somebody where I've been like anti-Tomlin, but I've also the last 3-4 years I've been open to being like, hey, depending who would make sense and be there, yeah, you know what, I'm all for change when it makes sense.
Yeah, me too. I'm ready for it, to be honest with you. I'm ready for it. But transitioning into the final part of today's show, our predictions. So the Pittsburgh Steelers are 3-point underdogs at home. The over-under is at 45.5. What is your prediction for this game?
In terms of just straight who's winning?
You can do with the points or without.
So what are the Steelers, +3?
Steelers are +3.
Packers are -3, correct?
Yep.
I think this will be a good game. I think that we're going to see some more defense in this game than we are offense from both teams. Steelers are back home. They've had time after the bye. It's prime time. Steelers defense obviously is frustrated. I think they're going to be better. I still think Jordan Love is going to find opportunity in the middle of the field. I still think Josh Jacobs is going to have a strong game. But I think we will get some pressure there. We might be able to get a turnover. But it's hard. The Steelers have given up so many yards. They can rack up the sacks. They can get themselves better at stopping the run, as they did at least for 3 weeks before last week. But they give up big plays, man. And I think that's one of their biggest things. I think the middle of the field, and they give up a lot of yards.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of have the last couple seasons. Looking at the Steelers' end, I think Raj will be locked. I like what the Steelers have done offensively. But Green Bay can also clamp down defensively. They've been kind of a little shaky, just like the Steelers have.
Right.
I'm going to say this is a little bit more of a defensive game, and it's not going to be too high scoring. I don't think it's going to be as high scoring as we saw Thursday. Unfortunately, I think I'm going to lean Green Bay to win this football game. The Steelers' defense is just giving up too many yards. Josh Jacobs is one of the best backs in the league. And until we see the defense step up against some... I don't even want to say that, because they've given up to less talent. So I feel like that they're going to drop 2 in a row. Everybody's going to be freaking out. Steelers were 4-1. They're going to choke the division. They're 4-3. They have the Colts the following week. We're going to hear it. And rightfully so.
Right.
But I'm going to say this is a close game. I'm going to say 23-20. Green Bay -3.
Good deal. So I guess you're saying 23-20, so you're taking the under as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's going to be different, man. I think that the Steelers are going to come in prepared. I think that the long bye, or the mini bye, the long rest is helpful. They got some players back. I think the offense looked a lot better. I know they were going up against a defense in the Bengals that will make anybody look pretty good. I mean, look at what Russell Wilson and Kenny Pickett have done against the Bengals as well. And so I understand that aspect of it, but Raj looked like he was able to get the ball out quick. He was also able to survey the field. He had some throws on him. Even that Hail Mary pass, I think, was like the longest pass air yards goes since like 2017. I think is what I read.
Yep.
So, he still has it. I mean, that's at the end of the game, when he's already thrown a lot of passes. I actually think that the Steelers, it's going to be close, but I think it's going to be 23-27 Steelers. I think they're going to end up winning.
I'll take it. I'd be more than glad about that.
Yeah, I just think that this being a revenge game, it's going to be very similar to
Yeah,
the
I mean, it's
Jets
a big game. It's a big game. You're coming off a loss that pissed everybody off. You get a mini bye. Raj
Yeah.
is playing Green Bay. Now Micah Parsons ate last week, so Broderick Jones is going to have another test. But I really believe in the Steelers' offensive game plan each week. I genuinely do. And
Yeah.
obviously, they're not going to trade for a wide receiver because tomorrow's Thursday. If anything, it's probably going to be after this game, Monday or Tuesday. If at least my guess.
You
Going
think
in a
it
week
could
now.
be a Packers receiver, or you think that's out of the question now?
Probably had the question. Green Bay's 4-1-1. I think probably you can look at the Saints there. I think you can maybe look at the Dolphins. Even Jacoby Myers with the Raiders. I think anybody would love to have him there. So that's probably the ballpark what you're looking at. With that being said, I love your prediction. I hope that genuinely happens. I'm very confident in the Steelers' offensive game plan. I am. It's just the defensive side of the ball. We need to get Jordan Love on his ass. We need to contain Josh Jacobs and just limit some of the big yards.
Yeah.
That's what they got to do.
Disagree.
That's what they got to do, I think, to win this game. So, and that's what I mean. Now we're sitting here saying we believe in this offense. We believe that when it comes to the fourth quarter, that the Steelers. I mean, dude, every week when Ben was here, you knew that the Steelers had a chance. Since then, we haven't been able to feel like that.
Yeah.
Now we do again.
No, I agree.
Steelers are in a tight game in the fourth. I believe that they have a shot with Raj. 100%. That's the first time we can feel that. Myers or Waddle, either one would be great. Jaime, either one. That'd be fantastic. Even Chris Olave, that'd be fantastic too.
Yeah,
I'd even take
agree.
Rashid Shaheed if they can't get any of those guys from the Saints or from those teams.
Yeah.
But I feel like Jacoby Myers probably the likely because he still said he wants to be traded. The Saints have won, or the Raiders are what, 2-5? So
2-5 on a bye week, and they held him out.
Yeah. So their season's done. But yeah, I hope that happens. I really want to see the Steelers defense lock in. We need to see it. We need to see it. We need to get the boat going again. This is a stretch coming up here the next 3-4 games. So it's time to lock in.
100%. Well, guys, that's going to do it for us tonight. I want to let you guys know, probably starting next week on Thursdays, we're going to be probably transitioning. I'm going to put it on this channel, but we're also going to I'm going to play this also on my other channel that I have, the Drunk Turkey Show, or the DT Show, if you guys aren't watching or following. And what we're going to do is we're going to be transitioning to a Thursday show where we're going to be talking about not just the Pittsburgh Steelers, but all the NFL. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be going back and forth between both my channel and Nathan's. Nathan, before we let everybody go, any final words and let everybody know where they can find you?
Yeah. So we're going to have to do it the following Thursday, brother. I'm going to be out of town. I'm going to Orlando. I'm going to see Z. So for people in the chat that know Z, I'm going to see him and some of our friends down there. I'm actually going to the Thursday night game before Halloween, the Dolphins and Ravens game.
Nice.
Yeah, since he's a Ravens fan. So going to do that. So the following Thursday, we'll start what you said. So 2 weeks from tomorrow, Daniel and I will start it. But you guys can follow me at In Hindsight. I know mine's in the description. I'm streaming this on my channel as well. I've stated the Steelers in my description as well. If anybody's watching my channel, you want to follow Daniel. It should be interesting and fun, just expanding more into the NFL realm rather than just Steelers. Talk about what's going on, talk about news, conversation, people from other teams as well. It should be a good time. So shout out to everybody that tuned in tonight, everybody in the chat. We see you and everybody. For a couple people that I'm not familiar with, Boxing and Blue, good to see you guys. Thanks for coming in. But everybody else, you guys know who you are. Good seeing you. Hopefully you guys are all doing good. Mr. Tummy as well. Good seeing you, man. Jared Devil, Derpy, Ali, Jaime, Steelers Lee, Steelers fan. Thank you guys. We appreciate it.
Yeah, 100%, guys. We'll see you guys next week, or I'll see you guys next week. You guys have a safe night. Until then, peace out.